Hi everyone, how are you doing? This is Amanda. I hope that you're well. So I'm back from London. I had a week away there, and I thought what we would do, as it's a day before 12:12, is have a chat and a catch up. Grab a cuppa if you want to, and we're going to discuss a few different things in this video. I will pull some cards for 12:12, but more than anything, the intention of coming on today is just to be with you and to show up. These are tricky days that all of us are going through, and I intend for this video to also have some light-hearted moments in it, and I want to show you a few things as well. But you know, Metatron, having just sat down here and got myself ready, laid out the cards, ready to go, stuck the light on, and my attention and energy was drawn to the Bible that's sitting on my bookshelf with goodness knows how many other books. And I felt that I was being called to just open it at a particular page to receive whatever message. And I'm a little bit blown away by what I've just read, because where I opened it was Daniel. And it takes us into the story of Daniel and the lion's den. Many of you will know the story of Daniel and the lion's den. And I'll tell you what that is if you don't know. But effectively, it's a story about trust and faith and alignment to God, universal power, whatever you want to call it, creator. And Daniel was tested and thrown into the lion's pit, and the story goes that the lion's jaws were clamped shut. He was delivered basically from his suffering and presumed death because he trusted and he believed in his God. So we may know that story, and it does feel as though it's a very powerful analogy for these days that we are all in different ways at the moment, and our world. But what raised an eyebrow with me is before I got to that bit, which is sort of the end of Daniel, that's how how it culminates. I was actually drawn to Daniel's vision, which he had. Now, those of you that have got Bibles, you can look it up yourself, but I'm looking at Daniel chapter 7 is where I opened it. And it talks about the fact that Daniel had a vision, and the vision was of 4 beasts, basically. And it goes into graphic detail about what these beasts look like and what they stood for. But the nub of it is that at the end of the vision, there is a form of judgment that comes, and what they describe as the Ancient in Years, the Most High, the saints, the angels, are able to conquer and win against this darkness, basically. It feels as though I'm being drawn to talk about that and lead you to that passage for a reason, maybe for obvious reasons. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has found the last couple of weeks difficult with regard to the world that we're in at the moment. Even if we're, going about our everyday business, meeting up with friends, family, whatever, there is this undercurrent, isn't there, of growing oppression, which many of us are struggling with. And so I think that Metatron is leading us to the story of Daniel to remind us about the power of staying in alignment and trusting and having faith in the face of considerable adversity. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to say in this video. I'm drawing you to that story and indeed the strength of Daniel. The other interesting thing about the story of Daniel, I've just had to do a little mini refresher because I couldn't remember, is that the story goes that he was somebody who had been raised to the high office by his royal master Darius. I'm reading this off Wikipedia. And Daniel's jealous rivals tricked Darius into issuing a decree that for 30 days no prayers should be addressed to any god or man, but to Darius himself. And anybody who disobeyed this basically got thrown to the lions. So effectively what it was a decree that was about false idolatry, praying to the wrong thing, basically praying to the wrong energy, putting your faith and your trust in the wrong energy. And Daniel refused to do that. He kept still praying to the Most High, to God Creator. That's why he got thrown into the lion's pit. But he was saved. So again, there seems to be something in that story about what are we giving our allegiance to at this time. Really, truly make sure your filters are clean. And when I talk about our filters being clean, it's particularly a nod to the crown chakra. And the colour that I link to the crown chakra is silver. Those of you that have my chakra sprays, you know that the crown chakra is a silver spray. And that might seem a slightly strange choice, but it's stayed ever since we made the sprays. And it's silver because Metatron always said to me, it acted as a filter. If you think about your crown chakra, it's the place where energies first come into the physical body. It's not the only place. You've also got other areas which need filters as well. One is the altar major behind the back of your neck. Your feet are also filters, the feet chakras. You can also absorb negative energy, toxic energy in terms of where you choose to stand energetically. But let's just focus on the crown for a moment. So the silver energy is very much about having a filter in place so that only energy that is of the right vibration, of a loving vibration, of a light vibration actually can come in. Anything else is, as I say, filtered away. Let's just, as I'm talking about it, spray it, shall we? So the silver crown chakra spray. Let's just put this around us. And it feels quite important that we're doing this, as I say, just before the 12/12 energy, just before the winter solstice, and obviously in the run up to Christmas as well. If we think about the crown, and remember, corona also means crown, and who was crowned? Who was crowned? If we think about Jesus, Jesus was crowned and mocked with a crown of thorns, where actually he should have had a crown of blossom or gold, you know. He was a true king in terms of standing up for love and truth and, you know, all of the beautiful fifth dimensional and above energies that we are trying to align to. So at the start of this video today, I'm bringing in the energy of Daniel, and I'm definitely bringing in the energy of Jesus, and we're bringing in that beautiful fresh vibration of silver around our crown. And my goodness, you know, having just sprayed that around myself, I can really just feel like the cleansing energy that's coming in with that silver, okay? So stay aligned. The other story, I suppose, that would be very similar would be the one that I have mentioned to you before. And indeed it is, we've got a depiction of it in the Christ deck that's going to be coming out at some point, which is Jesus calming the sea. It's the same thing, basically. It's humanity, it's you, it's me, having moments at the moment whereby we are starting to panic, we're starting to think, is this really going to turn out okay? And, you know, the disciples were in the boat, the storm was whipping up, the boat was rocking from side to side. They had a moment where they lost their faith. They woke up Jesus to calm the sea, and he reprimanded them. He said, you know, have faith. You know, he calmed the sea, but they could have done it themselves. So I have to say also that I've got a lovely little deck here, which is called Divine Doors. Is it called Divine Doors? Yeah, Divine Doors. And the one that I pulled for us today is this one, which says, trust the universe, trust the universe. And it actually goes on to say, trust the universe. It says, intuition has wandered and led you astray. The timing's not yours, but the universe at play. There's something there about if we have been led astray by trickster energies or false energies or what we once thought was right but now we know isn't, etc. It's also a nod to the fact there's no real wrong turns because it's all learning. So the timing's not yours, but the universe at play. It's as though we are all here in this universe. We're all here on Earth having this experience for good, for bad, etc. But essentially, the universe is the one that has got our back and has got this planet's back, and we have to have faith in that. Let's just pull one other card from this deck. I think that might be a nice thing to do. Let's just see one other message, please. I'm drawn to that one. What's that one? Sunset. Time here turns to release and unfurl. Old cords of pain fade as the sunlight burns. It's a nod, I think, to Glastonbury Tour. That's what it reminds me of anyway. But it's also about sunset, saying farewell to something. At the end of the day, we are coming towards the end of this year and we're saying goodbye to it. And as I say every year when we get towards the end of a year, it's really important, however challenging or difficult a year has been, and this year has been challenging and difficult, that we have to also have thanks and gratitude for what it has taught us, the lessons that have come in. And even though those lessons are still arriving and we just want it to stop, we still need to have gratitude at soul level for everything that we are learning and going through at this moment in time, even if we're saying it through gritted teeth. Thank you. Okay. Because you see this card here, I just want to bring that one up. We've got the energy of a Buddhist monk dressed in orange. And of course, orange is an energy linked into enlightenment. And, you know, the Buddhist energy talks about suffering, doesn't it? That part of the human condition is linked into suffering. Through suffering, we can learn. Through suffering, we can grow. Through suffering, we can evolve. Having just come back from London, we went to, on one day, we went to the Victoria and Albert Museum. Good shout out if you're ever in London because it's actually free. So you can go in there and you don't have to pay anything. But I don't know whether it's a permanent exhibition that's on within it, or it was a temporary one. But I was very drawn to they've got an exhibition about Buddhism. And Buddhism, Hinduism, there's also a big section on Islamic art, Islamic religion. It's very, very interesting. And I took a couple of photographs, although it felt a little bit, I don't know, I always feel a bit weird taking photographs of very religious things, as though maybe it's a bit sacrilegious, but anyway, I did. This one here is a representation of... it's a mask. I know I'm going to say this wrong. Bhairava is a representation of the Hindu god Shiva in his form as the destroyer of evil. So this is the mask. It's quite interesting that of all the pictures I took, this is the one that I want to show you. And it's about destroying evil, destroying darkness. If we think back to the energy of Daniel and the story I was talking about at the beginning, his vision was all about that. It was about however dark it gets, however many beasts emerge from the four corners of the earth, there is a greater power on high that is stronger than all of them, and eventually, will win. I'm just seeing if I've got anything else to show you here. I didn't take a lot of the photographs, but it's a very fascinating place to go to anyway. It's a great museum. I would like to just say something about my visit to London because I think it's educational in its own right, linked into the energy. I know many of you watch me from all sorts of different countries, and whether you're in a city, a town, whether you're somewhere very rural, whether you're living in a very small sort of place or with millions of people in a big city, everyone's got varied different experiences. Where I live in the UK, I'm in a sizable town, but certainly there aren't millions of people here, I don't think. It's quite suburban, I suppose. So when I go into a big city, I'm always aware of the shift in the energy, and it always educates me about something. I had seen, particularly on YouTube, which can be the fount of disinformation. Let's go back to the story of Daniel again, and what are we aligning our energies to? Because absolutely YouTube can be a fount of disinformation as well. But one of the pieces of video that I'd seen, I don't know, over the last few months, was a piece of film somebody had done about the state of London. I'm talking about central London, okay, central London. West End, that type of area. And what they'd done is they'd gone round and they'd filmed all of the buildings that had been supposedly were in a state of dilapidation, shops that were closed, empty premises, rubbish all over the floor and the pavement, nobody there, ghost town. It's such a depressing video. So I must admit, I went up to London thinking, crikey, what's it going to be like? Because I lived there for, over a decade, and I have a great love for central London. And I really didn't want to see it in that sort of state. And I am glad to report back that I didn't see any of that. I noticed that there were less clothes shops, for example. There's definitely some of the big brands that have gone. But I saw a plethora of abundance up there. Shops, many shops still open, loads of premises still open, cafes, restaurants, theatres, cinemas, bars bursting with life. And I think it's important you hear, I can't remember who it was who said this. It might have been when I was channeling William T. Steed from the Titanic. Those of you that follow me know that I channel all sorts of different types of people, because he was a journalist that died on Titanic. And I think it was him who was saying, always try to listen to people that have got first-hand experience of what they're talking about. Okay, an up-to-date experience of what they're talking about. Because maybe those videos of dilapidated, empty London, abandoned London, London in disarray, London, just, going down. Maybe that was true 6 months ago, but it's certainly not true now. I felt and I saw a very abundant place. A place, I'm sure, with lots of its own issues and difficulties like it's always had, but it certainly didn't feel as though it was dying on its feet. And I wanted to give a shout out to, this isn't just London, this is true of probably any major city around the world, what I want to call the caretakers that are there day in, day out. As I say, having worked up there and lived up there for a decade, I saw this again firsthand 30 years ago, but I saw it afresh yesterday morning. We went up to Covent Garden before the shops had opened because we wanted to do a final little thing before we left. And it was just as, I suppose, London was starting to wake up. The shops were just starting to open. The road sweepers were cleaning the streets. All of the people that are just there to keep London ticking over, the people that are delivering food to the shops and the premises, all of that, the stuff that you don't see if you turn up at 11 o'clock in the morning and everything's just, there. These people are the ones that keep our cities ticking over, and I'd include the cabbies in that as well. I had some great discussions with cabbies, taxi drivers, to those that don't understand the term, about, the state of the political landscape, you name it. Cabbies have always got an opinion, especially London ones. I just have come back feeling very refreshed from the whole experience and buoyed up because I saw a city that is not dying. I saw a city that is still very much alive, whatever happens over the next few weeks and months. As this country and lots of other countries around the world are going to experience, we've got the Omicron variant. I'm sure you have your own opinions on that. I've certainly got my own opinion on it, and I'll maybe talk about that in a separate video. But we do know that there may very well be additional restrictions placed, certainly here on the UK, as a result of it arriving. I had lunch in Pret a Manger or something with my daughter one day, and it was around the back of Oxford Street, so a very busy part of London. And I was sitting there minding my own business, just having my lunch, and I was looking at it thinking, okay, so if they bring in more stringent measures, how on earth are they going to police this? Because the sheer volume of people coming in and going out, some were wearing masks, some weren't wearing masks. You are actually supposed to wear a mask going into a shop in the UK now. That's a new rule that they've just reintroduced. But a lot of people weren't observing it. I'm not even making a judgment on that, okay? We're not going to have an argument on all of that. I was just observing the fact, like, there was nobody policing any of it, you know. It was, and I think this is the thing with cities. When you get a certain number of people, it actually gets to a point where people sort of do what they're going to do. And it struck me that, in a weird way, the cities may become, certainly London, I know it's not true of everywhere, a refuge for people who maybe wish to have a more liberal attitude to certain things. Let's just put it that way, okay? What else did I want to say about London? I used to work in St Martin's Lane. There's an arcade opposite where I used to work. I think it's called New Row. And there are all these old-fashioned antique bookshops down there and stamp collectors' shops, antique. Oh, it's beautiful, amazing. We got some old versions of Alice in Wonderland, actually, books, which was interesting. But there's an old spiritual shop there called Watkins. Some of you might know Watkins. It's been around for decades. And they've probably got one of the biggest collections of tarot and oracle decks that I've ever seen in my life. I was literally like a kid in a candy shop, and I am going to show you the deck that I bought there. I haven't even opened this yet. I thought I would open it with you and we'll have a look together. I'm going to pull some cards from it in a minute. But this was the one that attracted me, which is called the Mermaid Tarot by Lisa Robertson and Julie Dillon. I went in 2 days in a row. I saw this the first day and thought, mermaids aren't really my thing, even though I love water. No, I'm not going to get it. Went back the second day and it was still calling me. And this is when you know a deck or a crystal or a spray or anything is for you, when it's like it's still on your mind the day after. So I'll show it to you. I'm going to unwrap it and show it to you in a moment. But the one thing I would say, and I know this is ego, but you know, I'm going to own it. I was looking for my own deck because I've never seen so many decks. I thought my deck's got to be here. My deck wasn't there. I was so disappointed. Actually, I didn't feel that there was a lot of Schiffer decks there, or Red Feather as they call themselves now, who is my publisher. So I might have a word with my contacts there to say, we need to get our decks into that shop. My daughters were saying, go and tell them, Mum, go and say, you know, where's your deck? I don't know. I couldn't bring myself to do it. So anybody else that's in London that likes my work, pop into Watkins and say, have you got the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery deck? And if not, why not? Anyway, let's have a look at this deck. Let's just look at it now as we're talking about it. I'd like this video just to be a bit of a licorice all sorts video, okay? I'm going to go a little bit all over the place with it. The Mermaid Tarot, now this has got, who is the publisher here? Oh, Llewellyn. Okay, well this is a nicely done, look, nice box. I like a nice box. I like a nice book. I have to say at this point, I've now got a deadline to finish the writing for my Christ Consciousness deck. It's not going to be published next year. I know that's going to be disappointing to many of you, but I take the attitude that I'm just grateful to have a publisher. Publishers always work to very long windows in time. So to get it into spring 2023 production and for it to be in your hands, I have to have finished all the words by the 28th of January. That's going to push it. Or the next deadline is June to get it into your hands by winter 2023. So, I mean, I'll definitely meet that, but I'm going to try to obviously do it in January. But it will mean you're not going to see as much of me. You know, I can't be all things to all people. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's just have a look at this book. This is lovely. Okay, can you see? This is nice. This is very good quality. Very lovely pictures. Oh, I like that one. Can you see that? That is a representation of the Five of Pentacles. I love that. The illustrations in this book, I suppose because it's water. When I was a little girl, I had a book, and I wish I still had it. A, because I'd like to have it, but B, it would probably be worth quite a lot of money now. It was the water babies. I think actually it's a discredited book now. I think it's one of those books that you're not supposed to have because, I don't know, it's got representations of whatever in it. I don't know. As a child, I didn't notice any of that. I just loved the book and I loved the illustration of the water babies. This feels a bit similar. Anyway, lovely, lovely book. Look at that, Ace of Wands. Very nice work by Julie Dillon. Well done, Julie. Queen of Cups, yes. Isn't that beautiful? Hope you can see the pictures. 5 of Cups. Oh, yes. Yeah, very nice. Right, let's open the deck then, and I'll pull a couple of cards for you. Let's do a couple of cards for 12/12. The cards are, yeah, they're a standard size, I suppose. They're a standard size. Let me just give it a good shuffle. Let's think about 12/12. Let's think about this run up to Christmas. Like I said in my previous video, it's a case at the moment, isn't it, of making plans and realising that those plans can change on the day. The only big Christmas thing that I had in the diary was I was going to be doing a party for 14 people next weekend, my family, and it's already off. 3 of them have got COVID. Not people in my house, these are people at a distance. All of them have been jabbed, and I'm not saying that to make a point, it's more that every single person I know now, how many people do I know at the moment who've been jabbed who've got it? 7. I know 7. I know 1 that hasn't had it, who's also got it. Because this is really why I'm mentioning it. You can get it whether you've had the jab or not. And the media at the moment in this country, in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in other countries, it's getting really out of hand. I don't know if any of you saw, do you know the journalist Andrew Neil? Andrew Neil is a very respected journalist. I think he wrote for The Times for a number of years. He was on the BBC political lunchtime news programme for years. He also set up something called GB News, although he's been kicked off now for whatever reason. He wrote an awful article yesterday. It was blaming people who haven't had the jabs, basically, for the fact that we've still got restrictions. And I just like, Neil, do you not know people in your family that have had a jab and are still getting it? Because I can't believe you haven't got people like that around you, because I certainly have. And it's just like, come on, we have to get together. I'm going to say something before I do the cards, because I'm feeling this very passionately at the moment. Those of you that follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you know the next person I'm going to be channeling. If you're on YouTube, you might not have heard. I'm going to be channeling Margaret Thatcher. And I've already got loads of flack for the fact I'm going to be channeling Margaret Thatcher, but I don't care. I'm not coming into it with any political statement here. I just think it'd be fascinating to channel her. And equally, she's been around me very strongly for a few months actually. But before I went to London, it was ridiculous. She was just everywhere. So, and I've been thinking about it over the last week, having had some time off, like, why is she wanting to come forward? What does she want to talk about? And I think whether you liked her or whether you hated her, because she's very much like Marmite, you hate her or you love her, she was quite good. She was one of these politicians that was quite good at giving rallying calls. And I think what we're missing at the moment in our world is politicians, whether they're of the right, whether they're of the left, or whether they're of any other persuasion, that are coming forward who are sort of telling us it's going to be okay. We can get through this. We can do this. The other thing about Mrs. Thatcher was she was very much about entrepreneurship. You know, it was about you can do it. Now, I know the flip side of the coin is many people would counter that by saying, yeah, but she only gave opportunity to people maybe of the middle classes or who had money, whatever. And that may very well be true. But I still think there's a message she wants to bring out at the moment about, come on, you can do this. In terms of jobs, if you've looked, you know, it's like being the entrepreneur. She was very much behind the rise of the yuppie. Now, we don't want that sort of mass consumerism back, but we do need the energy back of we can do it. You know, we can rise from the ashes. rather than all of this endless, let's just call it for what it is, propaganda, which is to do with, you're to blame, or you're going to die. I saw an article in a paper here in the UK yesterday, which was just saying, I don't know if it was Dr. Fauci or somebody, Fauci, however you pronounce his name, I don't care, predicting, is it 350,000 people are going to be dead before Christmas in America? Does that help anybody knowing that? Not really, no. What are they trying to do to us? They're trying to make us into frightened little mice, that hide in our homes. We can't be frightened little mice. We've got to be like lions. So obviously looking after ourselves and being sensible and taking wise precautions, whatever that means to you. But the relentless fear porn, which is what it basically is getting to everybody, including me. It's definitely a time to rise above that. And again, the story of Daniel, what are you giving your attention to? What are you aligning to? Do you basically have trust? Whatever the headlines are saying about how many people are going to die, how you're all going to get it, how this person's to blame, blah, blah, blah. We can't carry on like this. We can't take this energy into 2022. I mean, God, I hope we don't. But, we're going to unless we throw it off. Right, let's now breathe and let's have some cards for 12/12 from this Mermaid Tarot. Should be nicely shuffled now. I'm going to bring in the Emerald Renewal and Recovery Spray, because I don't know about you, but this is the one that I think is very helpful at the moment. I call it my smelling salts spray because it has vetiver in it. And those of you that know your essential oils know that vetiver is very pungent. And it's also a very deep healer. It's very regenerative, and it's also very grounding. So we've got to be watching the filter above us. What are we pulling in? Make sure it's pure and light and not fear energy, staying in the vibration of love and light, but also grounding ourselves, recharging our bodies, helping our bodies to regenerate. It's really important. Okay. What do the mermaids wish to say to us today? I feel like the mermaids in the Thames. What would they like to say? Okay, we have... interesting. Okay, what would the mermaids like to say? Maybe they're feeling trapped, they're not swimming freely. But anyway, because we're not swimming freely, are we? We're not flowing. We're feeling stuck. We're feeling hemmed in. We're feeling restricted as a world, But look at this card again. It's actually the energy of the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is where we are forced to look for a different perspective, okay? To also learn. The Hanged Man is very much about the energy of limbo. We're in limbo for a reason. Are we learning the lessons? Are we receiving the blessings, or aren't we? So we have the energy of the Hanged Man. He does feel very captive there, doesn't he? And the fact that he's beside this sort of jetty reminds me very much of the Archangel Metatron card from my own deck, which is about endings. And we've already had the Sunset card, haven't we, in the other deck. Let me just find the endings card because it feels as though it's tied into this message. Where are you? You are always the last one. Are you even in the deck? Well, you are, but whether you're in this deck version of the deck. I've got lots of different decks, of my own decks. It's interesting. It's like I can't even find the ending. How interesting. That's where we're at. It's like I can't even find where the end is. Okay, I have just found it. Can you see the jetty? The jetty? Can you see the jetty? We're in limbo. When is this going to end? When is it going to end? When we've learnt the lessons is when it's going to end. The Four of Wands, I love that card. It's the next one on the top of the deck. I'm hearing the word we have survived. It's almost as though those two feel as though they've been through turbulent waters and they've made it to the shore. And not only have they made it to the shore, they're now under the most beautiful awning. And the moon is full in the sky. And the volcano that was erupting probably previously is now more peaceful. The clouds are starting to part to reveal that powerful moon. Being able to see through maybe the illusion, the lies, the manipulation, that within ourselves that we haven't wanted to face as well. The lies that we've told ourselves. Have you been feeling that recently? I certainly have. It's as though what we've been trying to avoid looking at, what we haven't really wanted to see. It's as though there's a full moon coming up soon. Is it in Gemini? Exactly, two sides, what we haven't wanted to see. It's as though we're going to be forced to. Full moon in Gemini on the 18th of December, just a couple of days before the solstice. So let's just carry on. Let's just see what else we get. I like these cards, aren't they lovely? How many should we have for this 12-12 energy? There's also, I have to say, the Four of Wands is very twin flame. It's one of my twin flame cards. So we could also interpret this to be, it came after the Hanged Man. So having been in a sense of suspension and not knowing what to do, there is a state of union here for some, which backs up what I said in my twin flame reading recently. There's also something in this card as though, again, everything's provided for us. We're through the worst of it. But we're only through the worst of it when we can free ourselves from this sort of self-imposed prison. And the self-imposed prison would also include what we are watching, what we are aligning to. So if, for example, every day the first thing you do is you turn on your phone and you look up the news and you're just soaking up the fear and, oh my God, what we're going to do, you know, all of that. You're not going to be in this state. You're just not going to be in this state. In this card, God, universe, creator, has provided everything that you need in any one moment. There is like this picnic basket behind them, okay? It's not opened because they know that it's there when they want it. They have everything that they need. They have each other as well. Lovely. Okay. 12-12, please, Metatron. It's interesting. I've never seen Metatron do that before. I mean, he has a sense of humour. He certainly has a sense of humour when I channel him anyway. We like to have a laugh, me and Metatron, and hopefully you do as well. But it's almost like I've just seen him do this. It's like he's saying to me, what a year this has been. What a year this has been. But it's interesting because he's saying it from a spiritual perspective as well. Not that it's got the better of him, because he's, high, pure spirit. But it's just this nod to the fact that, let's have a breather moment as well. And then we've got the Nine of Pentacles. Interesting depiction in this deck. A lady rising from the waters. Very Merlin-like that, all that green energy. And again, I'm wanting to link that with one of my own cards. Sorry, but it just feels very appropriate. The green Archangel Metatron card is about heart healing. So here we've got a lady, but it could be a man, it could be you, whether you're a man, it's your female aspect. And she's starting to rise. And what she's rising into is her heart consciousness, okay? Her heart is starting to heal. Her heart is starting to lead her. It's as though the mind has trapped us a lot over the last 12 months. And let's be clear, there are many forces in our world that want to keep our minds trapped into only looking at a certain thing, only accepting a certain narrative. But this person, and it could be you, is wanting to rise above that. Rising from the deep is what I'm hearing. Rising from the deep, starting to listen to her heart and look how big her ears are. Can you see how big her ears are? I mean, I assume she's obviously supposed to be a mermaid, so maybe mermaids have big ears, I don't know. She's got big ears, okay? She can hear, she can truly hear the truth, What is the truth? It's what's within her heart. Her truth might not be your truth, and that is okay also. We are needing to move away from times where my truth and my point of view is the only point of view. It's the only truth. People have got different perspectives. They've got different views. They've got different belief systems. They grew up in different places to you, different cultures to you, with different parents to you, etc. Okay, we can't all see through exactly the same lens. That is actually what distorts the whole world's eye. Okay, so I'm now being shown the whole world's eye as though the whole world has an eye, and it's distorted. It's got, you know, I'm actually, what's the word? I should know this because I'm very short-sighted. Is it mytopia? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm hearing the word for short-sightedness, the world is short-sighted. And the thing about short-sightedness is that you can see what's sort of up close, but you can't see what's in the distance. So you can see what's right in front of you in terms, and this usually is what I agree to. You know, this is what I know. That's why it's close to me. Something that's further away, it's like I can't even see that. I don't even know it's out there. You know, I don't even know it's out there. I don't even know that person's perspective is out there. You know, it was interesting going back to the taxi rides in London. The last one that I had, I got a taxi back with my daughter, and I didn't bring it up, he started to talk about politics because there was the changing of the guard was going on at Buckingham Palace, and I'm realising how perfect this is now. He had to do a detour, so literally he drove me past Downing Street. Literally, he drove me past Downing Street because the Mall was blocked and I was trying to get to my hotel. So as we drive past Downing Street, which is where the Prime Minister of the UK lives, he starts to talk about Boris Johnson. I have my own opinions of Boris Johnson. I have my own opinions as to why there has been what I think is a smokescreen story that's come up about his Christmas party from 12 months ago, which I think is to take our minds off the police and crime bill that is tried to be is being passed through the House of Lords at the moment. That's my perspective. The taxi driver, he was saying something totally different. He was very pro-Boris. He was, you know, someone's trying to bring Boris down. That's why this story's been leaked. He had no awareness of the other, what I was thinking might be true about it doesn't matter who's wrong, who's right. We both had valid perspectives. And as soon as he started to talk, I totally shut up and I listened to him because I was interested in his perspective. I didn't then need to come back to him with, oh, don't you know what? No, that's what I'm trying to say. We all need to get better 2020 vision. And isn't it interesting that the pandemic energy started around 2020? I know it was towards the end of 2019, but it really took effect and hold and got roots into all of us in 2020. I talked in 2020 about one of the gifts that it wanted to bring us was 2020 vision. Roll forward a good 24 months, and it's like, it feels like we've become even more short-sighted. And it's very easy to point the finger and say, well, yeah, you're short-sighted over there because you can't see things from my perspective. But I think we've all got to own the fact that we've all become a little bit like it. And the move towards unity consciousness, which is where we need to be going, we need to start listening to each other again. So again, I love the fact she's got big ears. That's how we got onto all of this. She has big ears. She's starting to listen to her heart. When you really come from your heart, you are willing to listen to other people's opinions, and you don't get triggered because it's the mind and it's the ego that gets triggered. The heart doesn't get triggered. The heart holds compassion. The heart holds forgiveness. The heart holds empathy. It might not agree with what it's listening to or hearing, but it will start to understand, well, maybe if I was in your shoes, maybe I would start to see the world that way as well, you know? Okay. So I love those two together, the Nine of Pentacles and the Heart Healing card. I also like the fact that we've got the Nine of Pentacles because it says, as a world, believe it or not, I mean, no, can I just maybe change that a little bit. Metatron is okay. Yeah, okay. He's saying it's not as a world. He's saying as a light worker group, okay? Because a lot of the world really are still totally blind. But as a light worker group, as a spiritual tribe, we've done a lot of work. Nine of Pentacles is a lot of work. We've done a lot of work through the last 24 months to try to stay in our heart. And my God, of course it's difficult, and some days we don't manage it. But we know now that that is where the answer is, to stay in our heart and to come back to our heart over and over and over again. And the heart will never deceive, because the heart is also the place where you can touch God. It's the place where you can align to God again. So anything that out there leads you away from God, creator, universe, highest truth, anything, you know, it can all be smoke screen. The heart will never do that to you. The heart is the greatest truth. Metatron is saying that the mind can be manipulated. He said that the heart can be betrayed. And we know this, don't we? The heart can be betrayed, but the heart will always forgive, whereas the mind finds it harder to do that. Okay. Well, let's just pull another couple of cards. How are we doing for time? 45 minutes. All right. I will just say, before I do that, that I mentioned the crime and sentencing bill, crime and police and crime bill that they're trying to put through the House of Lords. Those of you that follow me on Instagram know this anyway, and Facebook, but I literally, the hotel we were in for the last week was round the corner from the Houses of Parliament. So on the day of the latest march, which was last Thursday, I think it was, I went to the tail end of it. Literally just to sort of soak up the energy more than anything. Most of the people had gone by the time that I got there, but it was interesting to stand in that square, and there's a great big statue of Winston Churchill. There was people sort of banging drums loudly, and there was a lot of police, but actually the actual feeling of the protest was peaceful, which was nice to be able to report back that was the case. Oh God, look at that. Justice. I didn't realise that was on the bottom of the deck, the Justice card. Yeah. There's lots of things at the moment that are coming up for justice. Maybe for you in your world. Maybe there are situations which have been out of balance for a long time that are now nearing completion. You might actually be taking legal action against certain people, things, whatever, divorces, litigation, that type of thing might be in play. But equally, we can see this on the world stage. We've got the very high-profile case of Ghislaine Maxwell going on. And yes, I will try and do an update on that. I did actually read on it a year ago. The video is still up if anybody wants to look at it. I did say in that video that I felt she would sing like a canary, but you know, whether she's going to be allowed to or not, I do not know, and I haven't read on it since. So I'll try and do an update. She hasn't actually taken the stand yet, so we haven't heard her voice. We've also got the situation with Julian Assange, who's just been, the Court of Appeal here in the UK has just said that he can be extradited to the USA. Again, that can now go to the Supreme Court, that can overrule it, as can our Home Secretary, Priti Patel, who can overrule it. Now, I would just like to say that I have been channeling for quite a while that, I think this came in about a year ago, that I think we're going to increasingly start to see, particularly political leaders and social leaders, start to behave in the opposite way to what we might expect them to behave in. This could be for good, it could be for bad. It just means that if you've got somebody set in stone as personifying this and standing up for this and doing this, they actually might start to then do the complete opposite. It'll be like, but you are so-and-so, you're supposed to do X, Y, Z. Why are you suddenly behaving like that? We've already started to see a bit of it. We're going to see more of it, okay? And it's going to be a bit of a ego test, Metatron's saying, because he's showing me the ego now being stretched like an elastic band, which is that whoever you might view as good or bad, if they then start to almost like flip and do role reversal a little bit, it'll be like, hold on a minute, you're supposed to be the bad guy, but now you're showing me this side of you that I actually quite like. I can't get my head around that. It's like the elastic band is like being twisted. And the opposite as well. You know, it can work both ways. And it's to do with helping us to loosen up our minds and our ego and our fixed way of seeing things, situations and people. And a lot of people will just dig their heels in. They'll be like, well, no, but I really hate him, or I really hate her, and I am not prepared to give an inch that they might actually have a little bit of decency in them. And equally, it happens the other way. Somebody who's like snowy white perfect, and suddenly you hear a bit of darkness about them. You know, it's like, oh no. Well, it's okay. Everyone's a mixture of light and dark. It's this whole thing. It's duality teaching. It's trying to get us to straddle both, to be able to see light and dark in everybody. That caricatures where people are just dark or just light are rarely true. There are some instances in our world where, you know, the light is very diminished, of course, and the darkness is very amplified. But in a lot of people, it's as though we've boxed everybody in. And why have we done that? We've done that because we've boxed ourselves in. We haven't maybe wanted to look at our own darkness, or we haven't wanted to look at our own light. People can be just as terrified as actually really stepping into their light, which means that they're then more visible, okay? As they are looking into their shadows in terms of, I really don't want to look at that stuff, because if I look at that stuff, it's really going to hurt, or it's going to spoil my saintly image, you know? It's like, no, we have to get to a place where we are, Metatron showed me a checker board cloth, you know, like the chef's hats where they're black and white check. That's what he's showing me. That's what we truly are. He says if you cut through a person, most people are a mixture of black and white, you know, the dark and the light, shadow and light. So for us to be able to start to accept that about ourselves and truly accept that about ourselves, we're going to have to start to be able to see that in other people. And actually the fact that you then start to see it in other people is a good reflection of the fact you're starting to see it in yourself. Why am I mentioning all this? Because I just mentioned Priti Patel. I have a view of Priti Patel. It isn't particularly pretty, but I am very, very happy to be wrong. And if she overruled the appeal court and said Julian Assange cannot be extradited to the USA, I will come on here with a bottle of Prosecco and we'll have a glass and I will raise a toast to her. And I will I'll still have my opinion on her, but I will say, thank you, well done. I see what you did in that moment. That's where we need to get to. So let's, in all seriousness, hold out the fact that she can show her some softness there. And I can't resist just pulling one card, Julian. I've been with my daughters too long this week. Obsessed with Justin Bieber. It's not Justin. Julian. Let's pull a card for Julian. Interesting, I was just talking about Priti Patel because we've got the Empress. I mean, she is a very powerful female figure in our country. She's the Home Secretary. Five of Wands is fighting. It's on the bottom of the deck. The Queen of Wands. Yeah, you see, I'd say that's more her. I think she's more the Queen of Wands. She's very fiery. I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with Priti Patel, or however you pronounce her name. Is it okay to say she's hard, Metatron? And I'm sure she's soft as well. He said you have to say she's soft as well. Okay, yeah, fair enough. We've just been talking about the checkerboard. But she presents as that. A bit of a firebrand, basically. She's being requested to step more into her Empress energy for Julian, which is more of a motherly type energy. I mean, those of you that are not in the UK don't know this lady. Those of you that are in the UK, I think probably will accept what I'm saying and know I'm not being too judgmental. She's not really your cuddly, mumsy figure, is she? She's at war with two sides to herself. You could also read this totally differently, which is the Empress is Julian's wife and mother of his children, and that she is at war, you know, and fighting for him and will not give up. And again, this could also be Julian's wife in terms of she's got the fire in her belly, she's not going to give up on him. I'm not seeing him in these cards, I'm seeing women around him. It feels as though women hold the, women have the answer to his dilemma. What I mean by that is it feels as though maybe it's a female judge in the Supreme Court that eventually rules on this. Maybe it's Priti Patel, who's obviously a female. Maybe it's his wife. His mother is also obviously always standing up for him. It's as though it's this female power is what I'm feeling around him. Where is he in all of this? I'm not quite sure. Where is he in all of this? Can I have a card just for Julian himself, please? It's interesting that the card doesn't even want to come out of the deck. The card doesn't even want to come out of the deck. It's as though he's lost in the system. Oh, Jesus, I don't really want to show that card, but I'll have to show it. Ten of Swords. I've always seen Julian with a galactic energy around him. And a galactic, I don't quite know how to express it, snowy white, you know, snow. I'm sure I've channeled before that snow features with Julian Assange when I've channeled him in the past. So here we've got a snowy scene, Ten of Swords, he's stabbed in the back, there is blood on the snow. I'm sorry this is a bit distressing because I know lots of you love Julian. But the thing is, can you see his spirit is rising up from his body? So you could interpret this many ways, that they obviously are trying to finish him off. I mean, they've been trying to do that for months and months and months, years and years. They've hoped that just by locking him away, he'll just fade away. And he's in dire need of healing at the moment. But his spirit is still strong. It's as though his body is broken, is what I'm feeling. His body is broken, but his spirit is not broken. On the bottom of the deck, we have the Queen of Cups. Again, more female energy. It's the female energy that can heal him and save him. I have always channeled with him Nine of Cups, which is the wish that obviously he gets better. And again, it's a female there making the wish. I've always channeled that however this story plays out, even if it has an unhappy ending, he's a man that came in with a mission. He'll see it through to the brutal end. And there's a sort of sacrificial Jesus type energy here. And by that, I'm talking about resurrection energy. No, I'm not saying he suddenly then bounces back up and, you know, he's alive again. I'm talking about rebirth energy. If they destroy this man, there will be hell to pay, is what I'm hearing. There will be hell to pay. My gosh, I'm going cold as I say that. There will be hell to pay. The moon. Something we can't see. The Chariot. You see, one of you said to me, and I don't know whether this is true, I haven't checked it, that the ruling that he could be extradited to the USA came yesterday on Human Rights Day, World International Human Rights Day. If that is true, can you see what they're doing? They're playing with the energies. The man who stood up the most for human rights in our world, one of the people who stood up the most for human rights in our world, on Human Rights Day, they say, right, you can be extradited to the US, because the US have made lots of promises that you're going to be okay if you go there. He won't be okay if he goes there. They're false promises. The moon, it's illusion. There's also something here about the moon, and I'm wondering whether it's the Gemini full moon coming up. They're wanting to push this through quickly. So I don't know whether the appeal, the Supreme Court thing happens quickly. I can't imagine it would happen that quickly. They're working, the powers that want to keep him under and defeated are working with the energies of the moon. I mean, this is like dark magic stuff. Remember, back to the story of Daniel, that the God always wins. God always wins. You cannot kill truth. You cannot kill spirit. If he goes down, I'm not saying he does, because I don't want to put that energy out there. But obviously that card is not particularly helpful. But if he were to go down, there would be 1,000 Julians that would replace him. Literally, it's like, that's what I'm feeling. What does he need to help him heal, Metatron? Or what can we do? What can we do? Okay. We've got the Tree of Life card come up in terms of what can we do, what guidance is there for Julian. We've also got the family. The family is a reminder that we are all one, that he is one of us, that he is soul tribe, that he is soul family. That the thing about families is that there's always new blood that comes into families. His children, but you know, our children, our children's children. It's the circle of life, basically. And the Tree of Life, travel on. I don't know how to read that, to be perfectly honest. It's too open-ended. Because the Tree of Life, you see, we come down from spirit and we incarnate and we experience life. We come down to Malkuth, but then we work our way back up to spirit. The whole journey is a downward and an upward spiral. Where we are at any point on the Tree of Life, whether we're in spirit or whether we're on earth, is all exactly where we're meant to be. There is no death. There is no death. This is the whole thing. There is no death is what I wanted to say. That's what Metatron's asked me to say to you. There is no death. There is only rebirth. The body is just a shell. The body is just a shell. We live on. We are eternal beings. And I don't know who this is. The other thing I'm hearing is that somebody else might, it's a horrible expression, but I don't know how else to say it, take one for him. You know, like when you take one for the tribe, as it were, as though there's somebody else who might, if it's not Julian, it's somebody else who is sacrificial, takes one for the greater good, as it were. That's nice. I just split the pack at that. King of Swords, that's very Julian Assange. That's what he is. He's the truth teller. He's a king. Okay, guys, I'm going to move on from that. We will hold the light for Julian. That's what the most important thing we can do. Right, let's get back to a final couple of cards for 12/12. And then we're done for today. We've actually only got 3 cards here, so let's have 3 more. 12/12 messages for those people watching, please, Metatron. The world. The Wheel of Fortune. The Star. The Lovers on the bottom of the deck. Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, whatever's going to be this 12/12 energy, and I also want to include, you know, the whole run up to Christmas here, but 12/12 is the real start of it. This is powerful, powerful stuff. The world, the completion of a cycle, the Wheel of Fortune, fate and destiny moving you on to where you're meant to be, and the Star is the card of healing. It's the card of healing. It's the dream. It's the hope. Keep moving towards hope. Keep moving towards the light. Keep steering your way, whether through your own doing or spirit coming in and nudging the wheel a little bit towards your highest, best life. This also here is the Star of Bethlehem. It's the energy of Christ. It's the arrival of the Christ consciousness energy, which is always around 24th, 25th of December for obvious reasons. Powerful portal of healing and light coming into our planet. We've got to keep the faith. I just keep hearing, got to keep the faith. And you've got to trust the universe. You've got to trust all of the ebbs, the flows, the things that happen that you think, oh my gosh, no, really? There's always a higher meaning behind everything, including this stuff with Julian Assange. You know, it's all linked into moving us on as a world. The sad thing is, I mean, there's still timelines with him, but the sad thing is there is a timeline of sacrifice, and sacrificial timeline energy is about waking people up. Some people are never going to wake up unless certain things happen and they are literally in their face. Remember that thing about short-sightedness, okay? So in a world where everyone's starting to question the truth, if one of the big truth tellers of our age gets taken down, they're not going to be able to hide that from the front page. And you and I might think, well, it's blinking obvious, you know. It's not for lots of people. And that's not judging anybody, because everyone is where they're meant to be on their journey. People that are still asleep are still asleep. But it takes things to wake people up. Events wake people up. Situations wake people up. There's a lot of people waking up. I'm hoping in the new year I have talked a little bit with Mark about this, Mark Bayaski. We're going to, hope he doesn't mind me saying it, but I said to him it'd be good to maybe do a little mini series on people who are just waking up. You know, what the hell is this ascension? Because, and even those of you that have been on this path a long time, it's still good to go back and have a refresher. And in fact, one of the thoughts that came to me today when I was having my breakfast, and I will sign off this video in a minute because I know it's getting long. One of the thoughts I had is, I think with spirituality, I mean, I hate the term New Age, as you know, but New Age, spirituality, one of the mistakes that we make is we can sometimes, I mean, I came from more of a traditional religious background. I went to church every Sunday, you know, in my childhood, and as a young woman went to church every Sunday. And when you go to church, it's interesting, we come back to the Bible, those of you that go, you know, and I'm sure this applies to other religions, if it's the third Sunday in May, you're always reading the same bit of the Bible. It's like it goes in a cycle. You're always looking at whether it's Daniel or Moses, whatever. And you hear the same old things over and over again. And it used to drive me absolutely balmy. And I've said this before, but I remember, I think it was when we had the 7/7 bombings in London on the tube. It was such a horrific time. It was right up, again, light and dark. It was right after we won the Olympic Games in whenever it was. And I was in London at the time working, and everyone was on such a high. It was so amazing to be in London and Trafalgar Square on that day. And just the light was just blinding. And then the next day they bombed the Underground, and it was just one of the worst days, you know, in London's history, in this country's history. And the point about it, I've totally lost my train of thought, guys. Sorry, this is important as well. Please bear with me. Can't help the way I am at the moment. God's sake, maybe I need to pause the camera and then I can re-look at what I was about to say. Don't be frustrated with yourself. You're doing the best that you can, is what Metatron is saying. I was talking about the church, wasn't I? I was talking, oh, yeah, okay, thank you, Metatron. Yeah, you helped me out there, you see. Yeah, I went to church on the Sunday after 7/7, and they said nothing about it, nothing. All these people had died in one of the most horrific terrorist attacks. Nothing was said, because it was the Sunday where we had to read Chronicles 8, chapter 9. And I sat there incredulous. Now, why I'm bringing this up is I think with the New Age and with spirituality, we need more structure sometimes. It's as though, you know, certainly on videos, I know I've said probably most of the basics over a number of years, but it's like we need them in certain videos where people can say, right, that's the video that talks about whatever, that part of the awakening journey. What is awakening? What is ascension? So we're going to do a bit of that work. I think it will help, because it just struck me today that it's the lack of structure, I think, within spirituality and New Age spirituality that is holding us back. It's almost like we're all reinventing the wheel the whole time. It's like, because so-and-so said this, it's like, oh, no, but we've all said it. But it's like it needs to be in a more structured way. Anyway, those are my musings for today. I hope that they've been entertaining and helpful to you. We will continue to send our love to Julian. Please also hold maybe some light towards Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, to make the right decision. And I would just like to end maybe with one final card from the Divine Doorway set. Do you like my angel? I bought her in Oxford Street. Is she lovely? I got a blonde one and a dark-haired one because I've got two daughters. One's blonde, one's brunette. Otherwise I knew there'd be arguments over what goes on top of the tree. Thank you also to Dee and Johnny for sending me my card like you always do every year. It's a very beautiful card. They do it every year and it's always handmade. It's beautiful. Been sent some lovely things recently by some of you. In fact, as we've got a few minutes, let me do this at the end. I also wanted to mention these bracelets. You see my bracelets? This is from a company called Modern Day Manifestations. Now, there is a link to these bracelets in the box below. They have a deal whereby if you get two, you get the third sent free. Why it intrigued me, and there is an affiliate scheme linked to this. So if you buy some of the bracelets, I get a little bit as well. So I'll just be very clear about that. But why I went for it is that they're actually a New Zealand-based company. And because I know I've got a lot of followers in Australia and New Zealand, I know sometimes it's hard for you to know how you can support me on the other side of the world. But this is a way. So these are the bracelets. And they come like this. And the idea is that you wrap them around your wrist, just like I've done there. They wrap really easily. They actually feel very, very comfortable on. They've all got gemstones in them. This one is Fire Imperial. This one is Onyx. They're really lovely. And this one is Rhodonite. This one's actually called a Rhodonite Love Wrap. I haven't actually put that one on yet, but they feel really nice on. Anyway, if you're going to buy those, I will put the link below. Thank you. They sent me them and I just thought I'll give them a shout out. Thank you very much. Also want to show you one other thing. One of you is, a few of you are musicians that follow me. This, I think you are, I don't know if this is your real name or it's a stage name, but anyway, Andy Aquarius, he sent me an LP. Sorry, that's my stomach rumbling here, guys. I'm getting hungry. So I'm talking music. This is his LP and I love the cover of it. Isn't that great? There we go. I don't know whether that is you, Andy, or not, or whether, but anyway, I love it. So there you are in your chain armour, a knight of the round table is what it feels like. And I said to Andy, I said, well, I haven't actually got an LP player, but maybe I'm going to go and get one. Maybe I'll put it on my Christmas list. This is my first piece of vinyl in a long time. I've got vinyl in the garage, but this is, I'm sure, a very beautiful piece of music. It's got 6 tracks on it. Chapel, High on an Astral Horse, Soon Will Move, Morning Will Come, The Phase Has Changed, and Aquarius Moon. So if I can find Andy's link, I'll put that below as well. I could have chocolate actually as I'm hungry. Shall I just do that? You don't mind, do you? Oh gosh, sorry. So this is my thing. My stomach is always very, very noisy. When I'm hungry, I have to eat. This is my Toblerone carrot calendar. There's something else I wanted to show you. Oh, good. Can't remember what it was now. My bracelets, my LP. Lovely. Never eat with your mouth full. Let's do a final card. I hope you can't hear me eating. Sorry if you can. I've got my pot of Manuka honey here as well. Very, very helpful for warding off the bugs. Whether it's COVID or anything else at the moment. As soon as I start to feel a little bit of a sniffle or a bit achy, I take Manuka honey and lemon in hot water. It really does the trick. as does my Meta Pirate spray. I took this up to London. What I did was I sprayed it in the hotel room as soon as I got in there. I sprayed it on my clothes. Right, the card that we've got is this one. I love the energy of that. And it says this. It says silent skill. It's about breath. I challenge you to unpack your mind. In meditation's grace, the soul can unwind. Breathe in, breathe out, let go of doubt. So, if we go back to the very first card that I showed you, which was trust the universe, you can trust the universe a lot better when you switch off this and you go into this and you breathe. Take care, my friends. Lots of love. I'll be back next week, and have a good 12/12. Take care. Bye-bye for now. Bye.